dropped us off like in the middle of nowhere.
Oh no, that's because.
Right, okay.
Hello? Hello? Can I have everybody's attention, please? Okay, we're about to start. Can I have everybody's undivided attention, please? Thank you all for coming today. A warm welcome to all the YUSA Kiel campus candidates at our committee meeting today. I'm just going to review the format for the meeting. At this time, all the candidates will have a minute to make their opening statements. There will be a question and answer period following that, and then the candidates will have 1 minute each for their closing statements. Someone from the Elections Committee will be the timekeeper. I'd like to acknowledge the members of the Elections Committee, Cheryl Dean, Maria Thomas, and Anne-Marie Kahn. Okay, so we will now start with the opening statements from each of the candidates. Vera, you may go first.
Everyone please use the mic because we're live streaming.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, I think it's probably. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming out today on this very cold day. My name is Vera Moreno. I've been a YUSA member for over 22 years. I'm seeking a position on the bargaining committee. I've served this membership as the YUSA treasurer for 4 years, and 2008 will be a bargaining year, and we will need teamwork, strength, determination to realize an accomplished and successful collective agreement. We're heading into an unpredictable year, and we will be negotiating for issues such as wages, job security, health and safety, grievance procedures, benefits. With my experience as a part-time as a YUSA officer and union representative, with my financial background, I will contribute effectively to the discussions and to maintain the good wages, fair and equal working conditions, and improved job environments. I need your vote to work on your behalf in this capacity and to present an acceptable collective agreement to the membership. Thank you.
Michael.
Everybody. My name is Michael Riley. I'm running for Bargaining Committee Member at Large. I've been a member of the York community for 13 years, with about half of that split as a member of student government and half of it split now as a union member. I work with UIT. As an outspoken member of student government in my time there, I was directly supported by YUSA employees, and I want to be able to give that back, and that's something I try to do every day to our students here. I try to pay it forward to give the same opportunities that I received to the students that are here, and that's something that requires strong, happy, engaged employees who are supported by a strong collective bargaining agreement and who are supported by a strong union, and that's something that I aim to provide. I find my youth to be an asset in that I bring fresh ideas and a new perspective to a process that I think could really use it. So thank you very much, and I look forward to any questions you might have.
Hi, I'm Dan Tilling. I've been on the YUSA for over 36 years, almost 37. I've been here a long time, as you can all know, and you all know me well. I've been on the bargaining committee two times for YUSA 1s, one time for YUSA 2. Actually, I'm still on the YUSA contract right now for YUSA 2. And that's all I can say. Thanks.
I'm going up here.
You can take the other one.
Hi. My name is Janet Brewer. I've been a York employee and a YUSA member for almost 37 years. I'm currently running for the position of long service member of the bargaining committee. I believe that it's important for all YUSA members to put our personal differences aside and move forward as a united front as we enter into this bargaining year. As a member of the bargaining committee, I am prepared to invest the time necessary to listen to the membership to ensure we fight for what people would like to see changed, added to our collective agreement. I've had the opportunity to negotiate 2 collective agreements for YUSA in the past, and additionally, I've had extensive negotiation experience as a job evaluation rater since 1991 and an appeals rater for over 10 years. Thank you all for coming out, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Is this working?
Yes.
Sarla. I am also running for long service bargaining. I've been here for 28 years. Prior to joining York, I was in the financial sector as a negotiator for almost 10 years. This is my first time attempting bargaining. I've been a YUSA rater for 12 years, and I think this is going to be an incredibly hard bargaining year coming up for us, because mandates are coming down that have me a little concerned. I'm worried about security, the cost of living in Toronto going up, and we're going to have to make some hard choices, and we're going to have some dialogue, and I'd like to be part of it. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Maureen Mary Pilla, and I would like to be elected as a representative of the Unit 2 Bargaining Committee. I've been part of the York community for about 5 years as an undergraduate student, work studying LAPS Dean's Office, Lassonde School of Engineering, and now as a YUSA 2 unit member in Osgoode. I have seen the effort and dedication of all YUSA 2 members and how they've contributed to the community. But I've also seen how Unit 2 members have not been valued and recognized for their effort by the university when it comes to the expired provisions in the collective agreement and the provisions and benefits that are not provided. I am seeking this opportunity to represent all members of Unit 2 at the bargaining table, as I would like to dedicate my time on this committee to initiate and push for new changes and revisions that have long overdue, especially as the current collective agreement has been expired for 11 years.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Angelo Bogu. I am currently a member of the Unit 2 Bargaining Committee. I'd like to ask those who are voting this year to read my statement and consider bringing me back for another round of bargaining in 2018. We have a few more bargaining dates left in 2017, I believe 2 left. I'll be attending those. What I bring to the table is the ability to work collaboratively with the other people who are on the bargaining committee to look closely at the proposals and counter proposals between ourselves and the employer to make sure they're consistent with Unit 2 needs. Furthermore, we are just finishing up looking at the non-monetary aspects of the collective agreement. We're now going into the monetary aspects, and as you know, there are amendments being made to the Labor Relations Act as well as the Employment Standards Act 2000 under Bill 148, which will have to be looked at closely to make sure that our monetary provisions are properly looked into. And I thank you for your time.
Greetings. My name is Arun Devdas, and I'm running for Constitution and Policy. I was almost about to say bargaining, just by force of habit. And so my time at York is probably a familiar one to very many people. I started as an undergraduate student in the last year of the millennium, previous millennium. And as I continued my track, the spirit of the staff who helped support me as a student infused me so that once I graduated, I searched immediately on how I could become on staffing opportunities and made my way into YUSA, which I've never looked back on in regret. If I'm elected to be on the committee, I hope that, as a lot of my colleagues have also mentioned, during the time of university transition, there's a lot of instability and a lot of insecurity that faces our membership. And hopefully we can update some of the documents to help better support our membership and community. Thank you.
Thank you, all the candidates. We will move on to the question period now, but before we do start that, I'd like to remind the audience members that all the questions should be directed to a committee. If you have a question for the bargaining committee, please state clearly if it's for Unit 1 or Unit 2. Please keep your questions to only one question and as brief as possible. My apologies. Vera Moreno is also running for Constitution, and she has a statement as well.
So again, I'm seeking a position on the Constitution and Policy Committee. I'm eager to contribute my leadership skills and knowledgeable guidance in order to seriously and effectively work on these legal texts, which are the foundation of our union. Securing your vote is only a prelude to the realization of the diligent work that's required to steadily maintain the progressive improvement of these important documents. It will require many hours of group discussions, earnest dedication in order to make significant amendments. I need your vote to participate on this committee with a pledge, and I quote, to promote the general interests of its members. And this is from Article 2 in our Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you, Vera. My apologies again. So I'm just going to review the process for the question period. So all questions should be directed to a committee, and if you are asking a question for the bargaining committee, please state if it's for Unit 1 or Unit 2. As this is an opportunity to hear from the candidates, we ask that you only stick to one question and to keep the question brief. Each candidate running for the position will have an opportunity to respond, and I will prompt them. So is there anyone from the floor that has any questions for the committee candidates? Yes? Well, they're not present today. Do you have any questions for the people who are here?
No, I'm just wondering why they're not here. Who are you looking for? Nobody in particular. I'm just saying there's so many people not here.
Is there any questions on this side? Can you come to the mic, please?
Hi. Can you hear me well? Okay. I have a question for the bargaining committee, Unit 1. And I am a sessional employee. And for the past, I would say, 2 bargaining sessions, our concern usually got pushed aside because they were saying that it's for the, for the big number. So I guess the amount of employee who work sessional, not as many as others. So how can you guarantee or can you assure me that this time around our demand or our request would not be considered a hard pill to swallow and got pushed aside.
Bargain.
I mean, for all the members for
All
running
members.
for bargaining committee.
That depends on what you're asking for. For me, I would say that depends on what you're asking for. Like, it's not proper to, just at large, I can't really answer that.
Can I give you an example? Okay. So I work evening shift from 3 to 11 and then Saturday. And for premium shift, you usually get paid extra for time you work after 5 o'clock, I believe. But for some reason on Saturday, they don't consider that as outside of the 9 to 5. And for every time I raised that issue, they were saying that it's about money, and I get it's not even on the table to discuss. So that's why I'm asking that this time around, that kind of issue would be pushed aside again.
That would be more around work-related issues, work hours.
Yeah.
And that's for everybody, not just yourself.
Yeah,
Right? That wouldn't be just, that wouldn't just be,
But for people who work seasonal and people who work odd hour,
there's more than just you, the concessional works off hours. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot more people, so that would go through more. That one, we should carry.
okay.
Everybody needs to go through.
Everybody needs to
Yep.
I just want to say that we will hold sessions where members may give their comments and suggestions. And you mentioned that it has been raised before to the bargaining committee. I've not sat on the bargaining committee, so I can't answer for what they would do, but I think it would probably be included as one of the issues that we need to address. But we have so many issues. What we have to understand too is that the whole collective agreement starts from the beginning again. Like, we don't have an agreement. So we're sitting with the employer, we're going through every item to again negotiate. It's not like we're just updating it. So there is a lot of work that has to be followed through. But please put your concern in again, and we will address it, hopefully.
Thank you.
Hi. Excuse me. Well, I haven't been a sessional employee before. I have been a contract employee and had the same sort of feeling as you, where I felt like in our last collective bargaining agreement, when I was going from 6-month contract to 6-month contract, I felt like my concerns weren't being heard because theoretically I was going to be done in 6 months anyway, right? And so I can I maybe see it on from your side a bit. I don't know, I guess, the full specifics of your situation, so it's difficult for me to give you a specific answer right now. What I can tell you is that from my experience of feeling like I wasn't listened to last time, getting out and actually speaking to employees with a very diverse background in terms of their employment and everything else is something that I'm very focused on doing if I were to get on at the committee. So I'd love to discuss your situation a bit further. I'm sorry I can't offer you a more specific answer at this point, but definitely hearing your concerns and how we can incorporate that into our agreement, I think is very important.
Thank you.
Hi. I think that every person's requests or concerns should be taken seriously into consideration. I cannot speak to previous bargaining committees, but I can tell you that we should look at everybody's and extensively research, talk about it, and have answers for afterwards to tell you why or why not those things went forward or not. Because if you're looking at I understand that maybe this speaks to only a small group of people. As a total example, it might be give us that monetary issue or a monetary issue that helps everybody, like a benefit, including yourself. So if we have a choice between those two, maybe it's the reason why we went with the other, because it benefits everyone, not just a small group. And like I said, I can't speak to previous bargaining committees, so I don't know the answer. But I really want to stress that everybody's request should be seriously considered.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. Do you have a day off during the week?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so then I would think this question would apply more to Job E. Your work week has changed, but you're still under the 35-hour work week, are you not?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so when your position was posted, you would have been paid a premium right from the get-go because of the hours. So I wouldn't think this would be a bargaining issue. This is a job-y issue.
I started with a different hour. Then they changed the hour to some like I said, from 3 to 11. But my point here is, if you give a premium for working outside of 9 to 5, then Saturday, would it be considered? But anyway, this is very
No,
specific.
the labor laws say you're after 40 hours, after 44 hours, then you have to be paid at a premium. They don't specify it has to be Monday or Friday. Does it? Okay. After. Yes, but that would have been built in right from the get-go.
Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else?
Are there any more questions from the floor? Okay, I have an email question here that I'm just going to read out loud. Okay. Constitution and Policy Committee. Do you feel that there are any changes that need to be made or updated? What would these changes look like? Arun?
Okay, sorry, go ahead. The Constitution document is, I would say it's old. It has recently, in 2015, we updated it, but I believe there may have been only like 5% of it. So there are a lot of things that are listed in the Constitution that can be expanded upon, could be more specific. We also, our union business dealings requires that we do look at the Constitution, because some of the things that we're trying to work through for members are not reflected in the Constitution. But before the Constitution and Policy Committee begins to do this kind of work, we need to go out to the membership and find out what their thoughts are and their suggestions.
Thank you, Vera. Arun?
In response to that question, I would have to echo my running partner's sort of sentiments. What specific needs or what specific suggestions that I would have would be self-serving. The best way to figure out what the needs are that highlight and maximize it for the greater good of the membership, we would have to hear from the membership at first to figure out where are instances that we could improve our Constitution to better reflect the changing landscape of our membership. You know, if the Constitution was updated a few years back even, our numbers and our membership and the way that YUSA's membership has changed has been drastic and significant, and the best way we can figure that out is to find out what the concerns are from people. So my recommendation and suggestion to help me help the membership is do your part and speak up, speak out, and let us know what your issues are and how we can best serve you.
Thank you, Arun. Anyone else from the floor? Okay. I have another question for the Bargaining Committee, Unit 2, members at large. What specific issues do you feel need to be addressed for the Unit 2 members?
So I guess the question is asking what I guess is most important with regard to Unit 2 issues with regard to bargaining. So being part of the bargaining committee right now, like I said, we have pretty much shored up what's happening with the non-monetary provisions. The problem is, and we're moving into the monetary provisions, the problem is that with Bill 148, it is drawing now things that have to do with non-monetary with monetary because of the seniority clause. So what is being requested right now is that we go back and look at seniority, Article 10, make sure that It's very clearly stated who has seniority, making sure that that does not undermine the ability to pay people fairly for work, because that's one of the sub-clauses that can be used to pay people less. And one of the issues has to do with equal pay for equal work. So I would say Bill 148, Clause 42, making sure that seniority doesn't counteract being paid properly.
Thank you, Angela. Marin?
I would agree with Angela as well. Also, there's other things that need to be changed from the collective agreement, because it expired from 2006, so such as the rate of pay. When you compare it with the students, summer students also are on the HR post on York's website. When you compare it with the band levels of a YUSA 2 member, some of the students actually looks like it gets paid a little bit more, especially when YUSA 2 members are getting union dues. So it's pretty much the same amount of pay. The other thing that I would want to push for is benefits. Most people do not have sick days, personal days. They don't even have insurance as YUSA 1 members would have. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Marin. Anne?
So just bear with me a second, okay? Heard from many members that the last contract, 4 years, was basically a rollover contract. We had to wait a year. We kept being put off, and, oh, we may go on strike, we might. I think it's important that we don't settle for what we settled for last time and just take the rollover. But is there any way that you can guarantee us that you're gonna fight that we don't get the rollover, and that we're not gonna wait a year? And if we do need to go on strike, can we have these conversations sooner? I know it's a lot.
Well, the 2015 bargaining year was actually more than a year. It was more closer to about a year and a half. But it's generally known that the employers tend to want to delay negotiations as much as possible. And it's the representatives of the union, the bargaining committee, that need to work hard to thwart that, because they will linger, and so we need to respond to that with more strength and determination. So I'm hoping that the new team of bargaining people can effectively do that and settle to the membership's vote that they will be responding to the agreements that we're going to be able to bring to them.
Excuse me. Yeah, I echo a lot of that as well. From my understanding as well from the last bargaining session was that the employer did try to delay as much as possible, and it's definitely about opening up our availability as much as possible and really trying to find as much leverage as we can to bring those negotiations to a close a lot sooner. In terms of rollover contracts, which I think was a major issue, at least amongst yourself and other folks that I've talked to as well. I mean, I look at it this year in inflation, I think for December year over year is pegged at like 1.7%, and we got a 1.5% raise. So we actually lost money this year, and that's not something that I'm willing to accept anymore when you consider the agreements that were reached with the CPMs and with QP 3903. They saw massive increases in the last bargaining session, and I really feel that came as a cost to us. They paid out everybody else, and we ended up with very little. So that's why I think it's important for us to get started bargaining immediately.
Thank you, Michael.
Yes, as of being on the Alaska contract, I do know why a lot of it was delayed, and it was the management not setting meetings up and stuff like this. We can't fight that. Only way we can do that is by setting a date and then going on strike. And members have to be okay with that. If that's what they want, we can do that. Okay, thanks.
Hi. So first of all, we can't guarantee anything to you today. That's the first question. There is no guarantees. The best we can do is keep you updated as best that we can, forward dates continually to the employer to say we are available on these dates so that publicly they're the ones that are seen as not responding. We also need to think outside the box a little bit about the costing of our contract, because they are going to tell us, our benefits cost is huge, but with the government bringing in the issue where our dependents under 25 years old, their medication is being paid for by the government and will not be coming out of our coffers anymore. That makes a difference to the costing, and it's a question to the employer to say, well, tell us how much what that reduces your cost now that we don't pay for that. So, and that maybe could be, you know, a tactic in how we get something more in our collective agreement. And there's those kind of things we really have to come up with. And it's going to be hard work.
Thanks. I agree with Janet, but for what we, like you said, the employer potentially gained in drug and benefit costs, the government has now just changed the maternity legislation, so extending that leave from 12 to 18 months. We get a top-up. Is that going to be carried over? How is that going to work? YUFA's behind us. We've got them looking for a reduced load from 2.5 to 2. That's a 20% decrease in their workload, so more bodies are going to be needed. Which one is the employer going to favor, us or YUFA? I mean, there's a number of different ways that we've got to look at it more than just, you know, oh, we want more money. We do. We're going to have to be creative. This is going to be a hard bargain.
Okay, so at this point, we will now move on to the closing statements from the candidates. Arun, would you like to go first?
Reverse chronological order now. To those of you who have contacted me and connected with me and shown me like your support, I thank you. I'm deeply humbled by this outpouring of support, and all I can say is that if I were elected, I am determined to do the best that I can do to update our Constitution, only in the sense that not only do I see the work that my colleagues are having to go through and the struggles and challenges that they face, I am facing those same challenges right now. But rather than try to make change to serve my needs and interests, I would much rather do it for the benefit of others. And so I encourage you to come and voice your concerns or any opinions, because in doing so, you are helping others as well. Thank you.
Vera, I'm sorry, just let Vera go. Because you're part of the Constitution and Policy Committee. Yeah, for Constitution.
So I hope you've read my statements, and I hope you've reflected on the experience and the knowledge and skills that I will bring to the Constitution and Policy Committee. I hope that we can really successfully work together, both the membership and the committee, to really make a difference in reflecting the identity and the structure and foundation of our union and its values and objectives. So thank you.
Angela.
My name is Angelo Bogu. I'm currently on the Unit 2 Bargaining Committee. I thank everyone for coming out today during your lunch hour, during your time off, just to hear what we have to say. I encourage Unit 2 members, if there are any in your office working, to read the statements, to go over our collective agreement, which has expired since 2006. It's been 11 years now, and to just support the process by going out and voting during the voting period. What I bring to the table is a renewed and continued sustained commitment to planning for our bargaining sessions, relating the amendments that need to be looked at within the articles to what is happening currently with our legislation in the province, as well as looking to see what the YUSA 2 members actually need, what's practical for them, the way their jobs are structured, and with their career aspirations with York. Thank you so much for your time.
I would like to thank all YUSA members for their effort they have put in the community. I would also like to thank you for the opportunity to be nominated for this position. I hope that through my candidate and opening statement would encourage you to vote for me for the Unit 2 bargaining representative. If I'm elected, I would be happy to hear any of your suggestions and concerns before heading to the negotiation table. Thank you for listening and for your support.
Diana?
Yes, no? Oh, I'm sorry. Hi, my name is Diane Sarla. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for coming out. This is going to be a hard bargain, and I think we're going to need as many heads in the game as that we can possibly get, and we're going to need everybody's involvement to pull this one off. I'm sorry, but that's my opinion. So I hope you'll vote for me. Thank you. There you go.
In closing, I'd like to thank you all for coming or listening through the live streaming. I'd also like to thank Lorraine Marr in the Elections Committee for your time. I want to assure you that I have the experience necessary to bring value to the 2018 Bargaining Committee. Please exercise your right to vote, and I hope you have your support. Thank you so much.
Pick up the paper on the way out. That's my closing statement, basically. You've seen it. I am going to be fighting for it hard for this contract again this year, hopefully. And we will have some new faces on the board, on the committee, so that will be good too. All right, thanks.
Hi there. Yeah, I'll echo everybody else. Thank you so much for coming out and asking your questions. I look forward to speaking with some of you more personally outside of meetings like this. It's not solely my ideas. If you were to elect me onto this into this position, it's not solely my ideas that are going to be leading the negotiations here. Those are coming from you, the hardworking persons of the unions whose livelihoods depend on good jobs like those that we've fought and will continue to fight for. I go into these negotiations with the hope that they will proceed smoothly with the employer as we find common ground on some issues and calmly work through others. I don't want to create conflict or difficulties, but it's not something I'm going to shy away from as we try to keep, as we try to fight for a new, better collective agreement. I want to wish actually the best of luck to every nominee that's here, and I really look forward to working with what I'm sure is going to be a strong team going forward. So, thanks.
Thank you all for coming out and for viewing the live stream. I'm grateful for the nomination to be considered for the position on this committee. As the treasurer, I am acutely aware of our financial statuses, our business dealings, internal, external relations, and our association with the employer. Your concerns and your issues are vital to the direction and success of the negotiations. And as your representative, I will contribute to these matters at the bargaining table with preparedness, motivation, and strategic emphasis on the needs of what our memberships are looking to attain. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vera. On behalf of all the candidates, I would like to thank everyone who were present today and who are watching via live stream. Please remember that e-voting opens on Monday, November the 13th at 8 a.m. So please log on and let your voices be heard. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out today to the all candidates meeting. Before I start, let me just review the process. At this time, all the candidates will have 1 minute to make their opening statements. There will be a question and answer period following that, and then candidates will have another opportunity to make their closing statements. Someone from the Elections Committee will be the timekeeper. I would like to acknowledge the Elections Committee members, Anne-Marie Kahn, Cheryl Dean, and Maria Thomas. Thank you, guys. We will now start with the opening statements from the candidates. Vera Moreno.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out on this very cold day, and thank you those viewing from the live stream. My name is Vera Moreno. I've been a YUSA member for over 22 years. I'm seeking a position on the bargaining committee. I've served this membership as YUSA treasurer for 4 years, and 2018 will be a bargaining year, and we will need teamwork, strength, and determination to realize an accomplished and successful collective agreement. It's an unpredictable year, and we will be negotiating for issues such as wages, job security, health and safety, and grievance procedures. Your concerns and issues are vital to the direction and success of our negotiations, and as your representative, I will contribute to these matters at the bargaining table with motivation and emphasis on the needs of what our membership is looking for. So if I could please ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
Hi there, my name is Michael Riley. I'm running for member-at-large for the bargaining committee. I've been a member of the York community for the past 13 years, but half of that spent in student government and the other half spent as a technician with UIT as a YUSA member. My years as an outspoken member of student government were directly supported by YUSA members at the time, which is something I've tried to pay forward as I work today for the university. I want our students to succeed, to be inspired, and to be given new opportunities for growth. And over my time as a member of the staff, I've learned that I'm not alone in that assessment. We all want our students to succeed, and we each contribute to that success through our programming, administrative support, counseling, advising, and everything else that we do. Hardworking YUSA members provide our students the opportunity to succeed during and after their time spent here. And to optimize that potential requires a happy, engaged workforce supported by a strong union and collective bargaining agreement. I'm a younger member of the union for sure, and I consider my youth to be an asset. I feel that I bring some progressive ideas to the table, and I really look forward to speaking with some of you after this. Thank you very much.
Campus for over 37 years. I've been started here in the bookstore back in '79, and then moved on into the post office, now in housing. Over all those jobs, and also being on a bargaining committee 3 times over the past 37 years, I think I should be able to help you out and make a strong contract again. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Janet Brewer, and I've been an employee and a YUSA member for almost 37 years. I'm currently running for the position of long service member on the bargaining committee. I believe that it is important for all YUSA members to put our personal differences aside and move forward as a united front as we enter into this bargaining year. As a member of the bargaining committee, I am prepared to invest the time necessary to listen to the membership to ensure we fight for what people would like to see changed, added to our collective agreement. I have had the opportunity to negotiate 2 collective agreements for use in the past, and additionally, I've had extensive negotiation experience as a job evaluation rater since 1991 and an appeals rater for over 10 years. Thank you all for coming out, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Good afternoon. My name is Diane Sarla. I'm also here for long service bargaining. I've been a YUSA member for 28 years, and I've been a job rater for the last 10. I'm a little nervous about changes going on within the university, changes going on relating to labor management as a whole. I think we have to start looking not only at our membership, but other unions and what's going on outside of York that are going to have direct impact on our current environment. This is going to be a tough one, and I think we need the best people working on our side. I hope you'll include me in that. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.
Hello, everyone. My name is Maureen Mariam Pilla, and I would like to be elected as a representative of the Unit 2 Bargaining Committee. I've been part of the York community for about 5 years as an undergraduate student, work studying in LAPS Dean's Office, Lausanne School of Engineering, and now as a YUSA 2 member in Osgood. I've seen the effort and dedication of all YUSA 2 members and how they've contributed to the community. But I've also seen how Unit 2 members have not been valued and recognized for their effort by the university when it comes to the expired provisions in the collective agreement and the provisions and benefits that are not provided. I am seeking this opportunity to represent all members of Unit 2 at the bargaining table, as I would like to dedicate my time on this committee to initiate and push for new changes and revisions that have been long overdue, especially as the current collective agreement has been expired for 11 years.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out during this final hour of our committee discussions. My name is Angelo Bogu. I am currently on the Unit 2 Bargaining Committee, working with Sunny, with Julio, and also with Wanda. I'm right now the sole person representing Unit 2s, but I'm hoping that everyone will give ample consideration to the other 3 members so that we have 4 represented. The YUSA 2 bargaining unit is a unique unit. It comprises a number of people with various intern, part-time, and other types of status at the university. Right now we're working on the non-monetary aspects of the collective agreement, which expired in 2006. It's been 11 years, as has been stated, and we're moving into the monetary, but as you know, there is provincial legislation that is under consideration now, Bill 148, particularly 42.2, having to do with seniority, which can seriously undermine the ability to pay people fairly for fair work under fair conditions. So I look to be re-elected. I hope that you can do that. What I bring to the table is dedication and a keen eye to detail.
Hello, everyone. My name is Arun Devdas, and I am running to be a representative on the Constitution and Policy Committee. I have been here at York since 1999, not as an employee, but I have been a YUSA employee for 10 years. My career track at York is not an unfamiliar one. I started as an undergrad student, and I think the passion and the spirit that I saw from staff members at YUSA at the time, and who I see around all this time, these days as well, has inspired me to take a more involved stance in our committee and in our membership. And as my teammates and running candidates have also said, there's a big period of transitions that are leading to a lot of uncertainty and instability. And I feel that in order to best protect our membership and support them, our documents need to change as well, and I would love to do anything I can to be involved in that. Thank you.
Hello again, I'm Vera Moreno. I've been a YUSA member for over 22 years, and I'm seeking a position on the Constitution and Policy Committee. The Constitution requires a thorough review and revision, and our policy manual is over 30 years old. Securing your vote is only really a prelude to the realization of the diligent work that's required to steadily maintain the progressive improvement of these important documents. I hope to collectively speak with you, the membership, and gather comments and feedback that will add strength and direction to the upkeep and the maintenance revision of our Constitution and Policy Manual. It will require many hours of group discussion, earnest dedication, in order to make these significant amendments. Thank you for your time. Vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you for the opening statements from all the candidates. We will now start move on to the question period. But before we begin, I just want to go over a few housekeeping rules. All questions should be directed to a committee. If you have a question for the bargaining committee, please state clearly if it's for bargaining unit 1 or unit 2. As this is an opportunity to hear from the candidates, we ask that you ask one question and to keep the question brief. Each candidate running for the position will have an opportunity to respond, and I will prompt you to do so. So I'll now open up questions from the floor.
Hi. It's not so much a question as a statement to the Unit 2 Bargaining Committee. You stated that the collective agreement had expired in 2006, and this isn't entirely true. When we finished the pay equity plan, we actually renegotiated the collective agreement to expire in 2015. So you have had a collective agreement that took into account the new pay rates. So I just wanted to clarify that for you, so you're not giving out wrong information. Thank you. And I want to thank you for your service to your union.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the floor?
Hi, this question is for the bargaining committee. What do you feel is the most or greatest stumbling block that you feel for the new collective agreement that you'll be negotiating, and how are you going to fix it?
This is for Unit 1, I assume.
Unit 1.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, your question was what would be the biggest stumbling block? Well, from our last collective agreement bargaining year in 2015, we had to wait a year and a half before we actually could present an agreement to the membership. And so we need to be aware that the employer will try to delay as much as possible. And this is not good, so we need to be a little more strong and determined in trying to get the employer to meet with us. As far as the issues, we want to hear from the membership. We want to know what's important to them. I think the wage increase and the percentage increase over the next 3 years will be probably the biggest issue to discuss, and job equality and health and safety issues.
I would agree with the first part anyway, in that seemingly the scheduling of bargaining is going to be a major issue for us. We've seen what's happened now with the college faculty that's still out, right, and that their negotiations continue to be pushed back by the employer, and now they're forcing votes on an agreement that they don't seem to agree with. So I mean, those are things that we're going to have to really stand up for and try and push the employer to meet with us sooner. In terms of some of the issues, I think that could become stumbling blocks. I know that we have a lot of members, at least in the various departments I've spoken to, that are interested in professional development opportunities that are not currently offered by our collective agreement. And I think those are important to fight for as much as a wage increase. So getting the employer to see the value behind the professional development opportunities, as well as the fact that over the last 3 years we've actually lost a bit of money every year due to the rate of inflation compared to the wage increase that we've seen. So, thanks.
The most I think is going to be around the wage. It's going to be the wages. They're going to try to get 1% or 2%, 1.5% again, and with that we cannot do. We need higher. And that's what I can say. How are we going to do it? We're just going to fight hard and fight hard. And we are only as strong as our members too, by the way. Right? Whatever the members want, we have to put it back to them. If they don't, if they take it, they take it. If they don't, we have to go back and fight harder.
Hi. I think the biggest stumbling block we always have are monetary issues. I think that we need to figure out and think outside the box and how we look at the monetary issues, since the government is bringing in that our dependents, their drugs are going to be paid through the government. That will decrease how much our benefits should cost at York. I'd like to ask that question of the employer to find out how that affects our bottom line and the costing of our benefits. I think those kind of things, and the fact that they always claim that they're poor but have monies for other units or other bargaining groups, I think we really need to take a close, long look at those things and bring them to the table. You got one? I don't want that one.
I would like to say I'm not sure at this point. Wages obviously are always the first thing on the table, but there's X amount of dollars in the pot. There's changes going on right across the board. So if we get the increases, are the jobs going to go? So it's great to get the higher number, or to get. Toronto's a very expensive city to live in right now. But okay, you get 2%, but you don't have a job 6 months down the road. Did you win? I mean, you have to look at the whole picture. And I think at this point, it's a little too early to decide which way is the best way.
Okay, thank you, Diana.
Hi, this is directed at the Unit 1 Bargaining Committee. A few of you have mentioned that you have been on bargaining committees before. Could you please tell me when the last year you did go on one, and what was your contribution to that committee? Did you just sit and learn, or were you an active member in that? Thank you.
Diana?
I have not been on bargaining before, so I'm sorry I can't comment.
Well, it's been a long time. I've done many things for the union, and bargaining actually was the very first thing I did in the 80s. And the way we did bargaining in the 80s is quite different than how they do it today. They do more of a 2-on-2 now, where when I was at the bargaining table, it was their team and our team all at the table all at the same time, so I was an active participant. And I've done a lot of other things since then in negotiations against the employer.
The current contract I was on, and I was on the, I think it's 203, and also the current contract, or revised contract, is right now for the YUSA 2s I've done. Also, I've been a really active member on it. We all speak in the thing, it's all parts. Nobody's one member.
I have not been on the bargaining committee before, but I very much look forward to contributing as much as possible, as well as learning with the rest of the group that's going to be there.
I've not been on the bargaining committee, but I've been the treasurer for 4 years, and I'm acutely aware of our finances and our business operations, and having attended to the executive board meetings, I've been aware of bargaining procedures and what's going into a bargaining and the outcome. And I think being part of the bargaining committee too is a lot of teamwork, like time spent with the team, so that we could like share ideas and how we're going to approach the employer. So that's my thank you.
So just to kind of expand on what Bev and Lisa were just asking, and we know the face of bargaining has changed over the years. Clearly, it evolves. So, can you perhaps outline, Unit 1 bargaining team? Could you please outline perhaps some unique skills or strategies or something that you would bring to the table that you think could assist the team?
As I said before, having been on the executive board and treasurer for 4 years and knowing the business dealings of the union, I think I could bring that knowledge and awareness to negotiations. We're dealing with monetary values, and just being in contact too with the membership, which is something that I think most of us that are enthusiastic about participating on these committees, that they're very involved with the membership outside of committees and executive board meetings. So that would be my contribution.
As I mentioned, obviously I've not been on the bargaining committee before. What I have done after I left as a student, I went to work for Downsview Park just down the street from here, and while I was there I was negotiating film contracts actually as the head of their film studio. There was a huge amount of space that we still had available, and so I spoke to a contact we had in NBC, and I was able to negotiate to bring what was a pilot at the time. Suits is now filming in Toronto because of the contract that we negotiated with them, and that brought along with them about 2,000 unionized jobs. and millions of dollars for the surrounding community in terms of the businesses that have been, I'm trying to look for the word now, that have been used by the production. While I don't bring the bargaining, I didn't negotiate their jobs, but I did negotiate what I thought was a fairly good contract for our group. So, thanks.
After being on 3 of them already, I've been, the best thing is to sit there and pick away the letters, the number, the words, small words like may can do or will do is a lot difference, and you got to know that. And also the late nights being on bargaining doesn't always help. It's a drag, but I can do it.
I have a great financial background in order to do costings for benefits. I worked with Sandy Bell at bringing the YUSA 2 collective agreement up to 2015, which was like 3 of us worked with employers to get that done. Hard work, but it was worth it. I've also worked with YUSA and their lawyers to clear up 300 plus exclusion grievances. We worked across the table from the employer. That was a 2 or more year experience. I have negotiated, and though many years ago, I do have some negotiation experience on the bargaining committee. And I've also worked or been a member of the executive board, and well-versed of our collective agreement already, which always helps. Any experience in YUSA is going to help you at the bargaining table.
Prior to joining York, I spent 10 years in the financial industry. I was a stockbroker. And the stock market is very similar to this, in that something happens, you don't look at what's in front of you, you have to look at how it affects 3 steps back. You have to look at the broader picture, you have to take in what's going on with labor, what's going on with York, what's going on with other unions, government changes. There's so many different aspects that make the full picture. It's not just the dialogue, like Dan says, it's what the words mean. Is it a definite? Is it a maybe? Is it a possibly? Is it a hopefully? You have to learn to read between the lines.
Thank you, Diana. Next question.
This question is for the bargaining committee for YUSA 1. I know it took 1.5 years to get our last contract, and I was one of the people in the audience that was dismayed to hear that it went from a 3-year round to a 4-year. So my question for each and every one of you, novices, elder statesmen, stateswomen, what are you going to do to bring that back? Because 3 years at 1% wage increase compared to 4 years is it just dwindles down, as you know. It's not the same amount. So I'm just trying to find out from the bargaining committee, how are you going to work on getting us back to where we were? Like, instead of giving up our best stuff, our best fruit, hold on to the good fruit as much as we can, and then try and get more in the barrel. Because to me, I just felt that we gave so much of our treasure away. That's just my opinion. So any of you can answer it, novice or oldies alike.
Diana, would you like to address the question?
I don't really know how to answer that question. One, I wasn't on bargain previously. Second, I think the first is we've got to get them to the table, which I'm hearing is a constant issue. You have to give us that mandate. We're representing you. Well, then all I can say is all we can do is try. That's until we're in there, until it starts moving. I can't comment. I'm not going to comment.
Thank you.
I think the best that we can do is start this round of negotiations with hearing from the membership. I think it's really important for us to listen to the membership, keep them updated, and to find out what they want. As much as you would like a 3-year contract, maybe people would like to continue with a 4. I can't speak for the entire membership. I really think we need to poll the membership to see what's important to them, and each round of negotiations is similar but different. As we go through our years, the important issues are not always the same. So we need, and who the membership is not always the same. So I think we really need to listen to the people and go from there.
Well, first off, I think we have to do a survey, and the survey will dictate how and what we do. Consider the last year, the contract management did not give us dates, meeting dates, and 2 of their members here will besides that. They did not give us dates. There were months where we would not have a date, or we have one for a month. And the only way you can fight that is we have to go on strike. You have to take a strike vote, and that's it. It's the only way to make them speed them up. All right?
So what I will say is that I very much agree that we need to sort of get a direction from the membership what the majority of people are feeling in terms of 3 or 4 years. I do feel that I would prefer a 3-year contract, but that might not be the opinion of everybody in our unit, right? So I don't want my opinion to be the one that drives the entire committee, because that's not what it's really about. What I will say is that when you give something away, it's probably really hard, it is really hard to get it back in terms of a bargaining session, right? So I look at the last one and I say, I almost see it as more of a 3-year agreement, because we didn't get it until the end of 2015, really, to actually get our agreement. So we would have started negotiating like almost straight away after that if we had just another year left of it. I'll stick with the rest of the group and say it's something that we have to pull the membership with.
Thank you.
From how I'm reading your question, I think your concern was that how are we going to go into the negotiations and sort of recoup what we lost? But that can definitely be a negotiating tool. We can go into bargaining and say, this was what we agreed to, and the membership felt that they were not justified in what we got, and so we need to bring that forward to them and negotiate and use that as a negotiating means to bring us to a higher level than we were able to achieve in the 2015
Thank you.
negotiating.
Sorry, just let me read one question that was emailed in for Constitution and Policy. What are your thoughts about candidates running for multiple positions? Arun?
Well, as someone who's not running for multiple positions, I have no staunch opinion one way or the other. My only opinion, I suppose, would be to say that if an individual is running for representation on 2 committees, that they embody the spirit of those committees and represent it to the full extent, irrespective of which role they take on or they get elected into.
Thank you. Vera?
Well, as a person who is running for 2 committees, I think that I'm bringing a lot of experience, though, to both aspects of the union, both bargaining and Constitution and Policy. I did a tremendous amount of work as treasurer, and it went beyond the 6 hours that was provided for me per month, but it was very rewarding. I learned a lot, and actually a very knowledgeable person told me when I first started as treasurer that they said, in order for you to do this budget report, you need to know all aspects of the union. And I was like, oh my goodness, But in actuality, that's the truth. And so in doing the treasurer for 4 years, I've put in a lot of work, and I have a lot of knowledge to bring to the committees, and I think that I can work through that successfully.
If you're elected to both.
To both.
Okay.
I will. I think that my treasurer job duties.
All right. Thank you, Vera. Next question.
This question is for Arun. for Constitution and Policy. Our Constitution and Policy is quite out of date, as you may imagine. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on how you would work to bring this up to date as quickly as possible so our governing documents would be current.
Thank you. Before I begin with my response, I would just also like to say that Vera has a chance to speak as also being on Constitution Policy Committee or running for that.
I'm sorry, yes.
No. So we are on opposite sides of the table, so it's easy to forget. In response to that question, I think if I were elected to be on the committee, the first action is to use that momentum and gain forward and to engage the membership. At this point in time, the big instabilities that's going on across the institution have reached the doorstep of YUSA, and it's impacting people, but it's just because of the workload that many of the membership have to deal with. They don't want to exercise, or they feel the lack of passion that would drive them. So in order to engage the membership and then to say, like, what are some of the, highlight some of the inconsistencies or where the Constitution is lacking on enforcing and empowering our membership, and then moving with that information to see how to best capture the greater good for the greater amount of people, but also not to discount or disconnect those who are not covered in that category and how we can accommodate them. Thank you.
Thank you. Vera?
Well, I think we need to be in touch with the membership, because if someone just read our Constitution, an external person, they would look at it and say, well, it looks great, you know, it's good. But when you're actually involved and you're a member and you are bound by the foundations and the structure, you see other things that there's loopholes, there's areas of expansion. So it's a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of team building. I personally think that 3 committee members is not enough to really effectively work on the Constitution and the policy manual that's 30 years old. Well, we need to start with a whole new one. So that will take time and effort. So I think if I'm on the Constitution and Policy Committee, that I will actually try and expand the members and maybe include an ad hoc committee that can work on specific jobs.
Thank you, Vera. You have a question?
Yes, this is for the bargaining unit 1. It could actually go for 2 also. I do have a possible concern. If somebody has a conflict of interest, be it a mother, a father, a husband, a wife, a sister, a brother, aunt, who is a CPM or somebody else who could affect your decision and you're working on the bargaining unit. Thank you.
So the question was, do we have a conflict of interest with a husband? Right. Well, I personally do not, and if I did, or if I thought that any team committee member did, that they would not bring that to the negotiating internal team or with the employer. So
I don't have a conflict of interest as far as I can see anyway. I don't, besides my brother who's also a YUSA member, so I like to think that every YUSA member would be representative of, I don't know, their interests and those of the union, but I don't see any conflict of interest for myself anyway. So
I do not have any. I do not have another member working here, a family member. So, other than that, I do think that every member on the committee should be working for the union, not for individuals like themselves.
As I'm sure you all know, I do have a member of the CPM community that is a member of my family. I'm here to work for YUSA and the membership. I'm not here to work for the CPM community. I don't care what they get, quite frankly, unless it's more than us. And there's a there's a certain level of confidentiality that has to be maintained in bargaining, because the last thing we want to know, or the last thing we want to have happen, is that the management community gets our strategies, and absolutely that can't happen. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
Musical mics. I do not have a conflict. But I'm going to be optimistic and say I hope, and I would assume that that would not, that the integrity of the member would exempt or supersede the connection.
Okay, at this time, do you guys?
I personally have no conflict with it.
I have no conflict.
Okay, at this time, we will now hear the candidates' closing statements. We'll start with you, Vera.
Okay, so I'm grateful for the nomination to be considered for a position on the bargaining committee. I'm hopeful that you've read my statements, that you will reflect on the experience, knowledge, and skills that I will bring to this position. The last bargaining year of 2015 lingered for almost 2 years, and for as much as it is possible, this committee will need to actively thwart the employer's attempt to hinder the negotiations and these unjustified delays. So I need your vote, and on your behalf in this capacity, to present an acceptable collective agreement to the membership. Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone for coming out today. I look forward to speaking with some of you outside of an event like this. I know this one's kind of difficult to get any questions across. It's sort of very form-based, right? I mean, I have my statement written, so it's pretty simple in that regard. What I will say is that I hope to go into these negotiations and with the hope that they're going to proceed as smoothly as possible with the employer. I want to find common ground on issues and calmly work through the issues that we don't agree with. I don't want to create conflict. I don't want to go on strike. I don't want to create difficulties, but I'm not going to shy away from those things as we work towards a secure agreement that's going to work for our entire unit. I want to wish the best of luck to all my fellow nominees and thank everyone for the opportunity. So, thanks.
Well, for me, I put the paper that was put up, my closing is. Bill 148 is coming out. That's going to be tough for us. A lot of negotiating around that. The pregnancy leave, 18 months and they're coming up. That's going to be different than with the contract. The way we allowed the stuff that we need to do this year. It's going to be tough, but it's going to be hard, and we're going to have to fight for it.
In closing, I'd like to thank you all for coming or listening through the live streaming. I'd also like to thank Lorraine Marr for moderating and for the Elections Committee. I just want to ensure you that I have the experience necessary to bring value to the 2018 Bargaining Committee. Please take time to exercise your right to vote. I hope I can count on your support. Thank you.
I'd like to say thank you to everybody for coming out. This is my first attempt at joining bargaining. I think this is going to be a hard year. Reflecting the costs of living in Toronto, changes in employment law, maternity leaves, our benefit coverages, our priorities of our members. But more importantly, what concerns me is the direction the university is going. And I think we really need to look at the larger picture and how it's impacting the unionized environment, not only us, but YUFA, CUPE, and the collective unit as a whole. Thank you. I'm running out of time. Thank you. And I don't like public speaking.
I'd like to thank all the YUSA members for coming out today and for all the effort they put in the community. I'd also like to thank you for the opportunity to be nominated for this position. I hope that through my candidate and opening statement would encourage you to vote for me for the Unit 2 bargaining representative. If I'm elected, I would be happy to hear any of your suggestions and concerns before heading to the negotiation table. Thank you for listening and for your support.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out today, asking thoughtful questions, and providing a very respectful and calm platform in which we can exchange ideas. I thank the person who nominated me to come back this year. I'm already on the bargaining committee, and I would very much like to come back and continue to dedicate my time and my efforts to doing that hard kind of grunt work of looking through the wording of the document to make sure it's consistent with what is going on in the province in general, what's happening within the university, and specifically with the unique needs of the YUSA 2s. Please read our statements over, give thoughtful and kind consideration to what you've heard here today, as well as that kind of other level, which is the feelings that you get from people that they'd be good to carry on respectful work on behalf and in service of their fellow employees. Thank you so much, and do vote.
My name is Arun Devdas, and I'm running for the Constitution and Policy Committee. My deepest thanks, like all my running mates said, to my nominator and for all of the people who've shown their support and their outpouring of encouragement for me to take on this, to be involved, rather. Rather than speak to what I can offer, I would let my reputation and my working relationship with the community speak for itself. But what I would love to do is to have an opportunity to represent and engage the larger membership, to represent the challenges and the struggles that we face right now. And outside of that, just to generally encourage someone that to do the changes that we would love to do for the membership, it's not to do it for ourselves and to be sort of self-serving in that respect, but really to do it for others. And so if you don't really have any intention to vote or to see impact any change, do it for those who you see struggling and are in need of it. Thank you.
Hello again. My name is Vera Moreno, and I am very grateful for the nomination to be considered for a position on the Constitution and Policy Committee. I'm eager to contribute my leadership skills, knowledge, guidance to seriously and effectively work on these legal texts. It's essential that the membership be informed and engaged in our development and decision-making process. And I need your vote to participate on this committee, and with the pledge to, quote, promote the general interest of its members, unquote, and that is Article 2 of our Constitution. So thank you very much. Vote for me.
Thank you on behalf of all the candidates to everyone who were present here and watching via live stream. I just want to remind everyone that e-vote opens on Monday, November the 13th at 8 a.m. So exercise your right to vote. Thank you all for coming.